Hello, my name is Jeff McMullen. I'm with Kalilo Consulting, and today we're going to go through debugging with IntelliTrace. This is a powerful feature that you can use to find issues in your production environments. So, getting started, we're going to open up PowerShell, and we're going to change to our IntelliTrace directory. We're going to import IntelliTrace into PowerShell, and then we're going to start the command up to start the IntelliTrace collection. When we do this, we gotta hit enter, hit yes to ensure we want to do it. Alright, we have our IntelliTrace running. Let's open up our website. Now let's start off by just creating some normal usage. Let's search for battery. Alright, we see our battery. Let's pluralize that and search for batteries. Okay, that returns as well. Looks like what we expect. Let's now do jumper lead. Alright, we see our jumper leads. Now let's pluralize this and search for jumper leads. Alright, so we don't see anything here, and that's not what expected functionality. I would assume jumper leads should still show up. So now let's stop our IntelliTrace session. Alright, now our session is stopped. Let's go to the directory where we said our trace file should be, and we can just go ahead and double click that, open it in Visual Studio 2017, and this shows us what our trace looks like. But since this is not our code, we have to go to the tools option and open up debugging, and we need to unselect the checkbox to enable just my code. Okay, we got that checked. Let's go ahead and close that out and go down to our web request. Here we can see all the calls that we were making. Let's go ahead and expand this out a little bit so you can see what the search queries look like. So we see that last one with jumper lead, so let's click on that one and let's get the details for it. So here you can see all the different calls, you can see all the database calls. We also see two exceptions in here. So let's go ahead and expand that first exception, I believe, and we'll dig into that and see what's going on. All right, here we can see that we're getting an argument out of range exception. This usually happens, you're trying to substring or look at an array and you go past a few. So we can double click on it and it takes us directly to the line of code that's having the issue. One interesting thing that we can also do besides just looking at the issue is we can look at the code map. So we want to see what's the path to get to this code. Alright, so this is code map. It looks kind of small. Let me see, can I figure out a way to zoom in a little bit better? Alright, there we go. We have a depluralize method, and this is where our bug is currently happening. So I'm going to turn off debugging and open up the solution. So we're going to our parts unlimited solution. Alright, so we have our solution open now. Let's drill down to the code that was giving us the issue. Let's run it first. It's always a good idea to, let's recreate the bug locally, make sure it's still there before we have to waste all the time to drill down. Another good thing by recreating this bug as well is we can open up the summary window. We can see all the events, all the exceptions that are going on. So let's go ahead and filter this down a little bit because like I said, we're not interested in everything. We're really only interested in the exceptions. So we can open up our filter and we need to deselect everything that we're interested in. Sorry about that. I accidentally clicked exceptions. So let me add exceptions back. Deselect .NET. Okay, so now we're only seeing our exceptions, and we want to go back to that argument out of range exception. So let me expand this window so we can figure out which one of these exceptions is that out of range exception. Alright, I think I found it. So I'm going to double click there, and then like I said, the really nice thing, instead of having to like figure out where this is, I can just open up the exception here, double click on it, and it takes me directly to that line of code. And again, here we see our deployerize method. It looks like this is what's having the issue. So before we can change the code, we're going to have to stop our debugger. So one thing before I stop the debugger, I think you can show, like for instance, say I can't figure out the issue, I'm not sure, you can actually go to the IntelliTrace and save that session, and you can send it to someone else so maybe they can have a look at it if you're having troubles with it. And that's a nice, collaboration type effort. But here we're just going to go ahead and stop the debugging, so we can go ahead and change our line of code. So we're not, so we hopefully will no one get that out of range exception. Let me change this here. No, that's not the right spot. Let me. I need to change the query length. Okay. So we got this code changed. Let's go ahead and start debugging our project again and testing to make sure that we fix our issue. Outside of this is one of those things I would recommend, that if you were looking at the method, you would notice there really wasn't a unit test. So this is really something that is a really good candidate for a unit test as well. So now when we search jumper leads, we actually get back jumper leads. So this is a way how we used IntelliTrace to figure out what was going on in a separate environment. So while we're here and have everything open, another thing I want to show you is historical debugging. So let's go ahead and set a breakpoint in our home controller. And we'll go back to our website that's already running, and let's go back home to and when we go home, it's going to hit our breakpoint. And if you ever use the really nice thing, with Visual Studio, the debugging, you can just hover over something and it just tells you what that value is. So let me step forward, hover over top selling products. We can see we have a count of 4. Now let's to kick in the historical debugging. We see the debug panel here. We go back. Sometimes it may pop up this screen. Just click back onto the file that you're working on. And now we are in historical debugging mode. So this is useful if you're debugging something, you see an error and you're trying to figure out, what did the code do? How did it get there? You can go forward, or you can go backward, you can go forward. And this will help you answer some of those historic questions to your code. So this is an introduction to historical debugging.